Hello, my bright little stars, gather close and make a cozy nest with your blankets and your biggest listening ears, because I've brought you a magical tale that will tickle your imagination and warm your heart. If you love storytime as much as I do, and you want to visit our reading corner every week, remember to tap that subscribe button right now, yes, that shiny one, so you never miss a single adventure. Are you snuggled in? Are your eyes ready to sparkle? Wonderful. Then let me tell you the story of three little pigs, a very determined wolf, and the discovery that courage, kindness, and sticking together can turn even the fiercest wind into a friendly breeze. Once upon a time, in a green meadow stitched with tiny blue flowers and tall, rustling grass, a gentle mother pig lived with her three little ones. They were not so very little anymore, at least that's what they told themselves when they tried to jump over a low fence and mostly tumbled in a pink, giggling heap. Mother Pig watched them with eyes that shone like warm tea. She had taught them how to find the sweetest clover, how to tell a friendly beetle from a grumpy one, and how to sing to the stars when the evening lamps came on in the sky. But the day arrived, as it does in every good story, when the nest was snug, the wings were ready, and the wide world kept clearing its throat and saying, "Ahem, adventure awaits." So one dewy morning, Mother Pig called her children to the garden bench, a bench with a squeak in the middle and a habit of wobbling if anyone sat too near the edge. "My dear ones," she said, smoothing their little ears with that special motherly touch that fixes scrapes, straightens courage, and tucks in wandering worries, "you have grown. You are strong and clever, and the world is waiting to see what you will make of your lives. It is time for you to build your own homes." The first pig, who loved speed and laughter and finishing first at nearly everything, clapped his hooves. The second pig, who adored clever shortcuts and cozy naps, smiled dreamily. The third pig, whose eyes lingered on details and whose heart beat a patient, steady song, lifted his head and listened closely. Mother Pig reached into her apron and gave each of them a small purse with a few bright coins. "This is to help you begin," she said. "Build wisely. Take care of one another. And remember, no matter how far you wander, my thoughts will trot along beside you." There were hugs, the kind that fit like a warm scarf. There were promises, "We'll write. We'll visit. We'll be brave." And the gate latch clicked softly as three little pigs set off down the sunlit lane. They walked together at first, telling jokes that were far funnier to them than they would have been to any grown-up animal passing by. The lane led through a patch of dandelions that gave the first pig a fuzzy yellow crown, across a brook that sang over smooth stones, and under the drooping arms of a grand old banyan tree. When the shadows grew long like sleepy cats and the birds began practicing their twilight lullabies, the pigs settled beneath that banyan and made their plans. "I know exactly what I'll do," said the first pig, tapping his purse. "I'll build a straw house. Straw is light, and I can stack it fast. I'll be finished before lunchtime tomorrow, and then I'll spend the afternoon choosing a cushion as soft as a cloud." "Not bad," said the second pig, who was tracing patterns in the dirt with a stick. "But sticks are sturdier than straw and still easy to find. I'll build a stick house, quicker than bricks, cozier than straw. And I'll keep enough coins for a mattress that hugs me back." The third pig listened, tipping his head as if he could hear the future whispering. "I will build with bricks," he said at last. "A brick house takes longer, and I may have to sleep on the floor for a while. But it will stand firm when the wind is mischievous and the rain is rowdy. I would rather sweat now than shiver later." The first pig rolled onto his back and kicked his legs in a carnival of confidence. "Oh, you and your careful plans. We'll be sipping tea and napping while you're still mixing mortar." The second pig snickered, but kindly. "Don't worry. We'll save you a slice of pie." The third pig smiled, not offended, not ruffled. "Let's promise each other something," he said. "Even if we build three different houses, we'll build them near enough to visit and help, if ever help is needed." The first pig pretended to check an invisible calendar. Yes. I can pencil you in between my nap and my snack." But he slapped his brother's shoulder in a way that said he meant it. Morning rinsed the sky with silver blue, and the village roads bustled with carts and chatter. They each set out to find their building materials, ready to turn their dreams into walls and roofs. The first pig found a farmer stacking bales of straw that shone like captured sunshine. Good day, the pig chirped. May I buy your straw? The farmer, who liked a hardworking customer with cheerful eyes, measured out a neat pile for a fair price. The first pig, humming a sprinting song, trotted away, and before the sun stood tall he had balanced piled and tied a tidy cottage with a round door and a small chimney that tilted just a little like a hat at a jaunty angle. Speed, my dear friends, he announced to no one in particular, is an art. He set a teapot on a tiny stove, fluffed a straw-stuffed cushion, and tried not to look too smug. The second pig, meanwhile, found a woodcutter with a wagon full of straight, dry sticks that smelled of forests and campfire stories. Good day, the second pig said, politely but with drowsy eyes that suggested he preferred pillows to negotiations. He paid, stacked, tied, and wedged the sticks into an angular, crisscrossing lattice. It took him until evening, because sticks have ideas of their own and like to spring away when you least expect it. Still, when the amber light stretched across his doorway, the second pig stepped back and admired a handsome hut, lean, clean, and quite proud of its clever joints. Inside, he spread his mattress, sighed the sigh of someone who expects to be very comfortable indeed, and drifted into a nap as easy as a feather falling. As for the third pig, the road took him to a shop where bricks lay like a red-orange river frozen mid-flow, and sacks of cement huddled like sleepy giants. He paid carefully, counted twice, and loaded his materials. Then he set to work with a song that kept time with the tapping of his trowel. He laid a foundation deep and true. He measured and checked, then measured again, because some things are worth the extra moment. The sun came and went, the moon watched silently, and the stars played their old music while the third pig built brick by brick, line by line, never rushing, never dawdling, simply steady like a heart that knows what it is for. The first pig and the second pig came by during their breaks to tease him kindly. Brother, would you like a cup of tea? The first pig sang out, leaning on the gate. It might help the bricks stick faster. Or perhaps a pillow, the second added. You could mortar that under your head. The third pig only lifted his gaze, smile tucked into the corner of his mouth. I'm happy for your speed and your cleverness, he said. And I'm happy for my slow, sturdy work. Keep your doors open. I'll keep my kettle on. A week became 2, and the third pig's house rose, the walls straight as a drumbeat, the corners square as good manners, the roof fitted snug and sure. He hung a bell by the door, the sort that makes a bright, honest sound. And planted a few flowers not for usefulness but because beauty often helps our courage bloom. For a while, everything was peaceful, because that's how the world likes to be when nobody asks it to be otherwise. But the forest has many listeners, and not all of them are friendly. One morning a wolf wandered from the dark firs with a belly that made unhappy noises and a mind that measured distance to supper the way a mathematician measures angles. He was not a wolf of elegant dinners or delicate sauces, he was a wolf of shortcuts and impatience. And he had heard that somewhere in the meadow lived pigs who were plump with health and perhaps naive enough to invite trouble for tea. He came first to the straw house, because wolves, like many troublemakers, prefer the shortest path to the easiest door. He puffed himself up, quite unnecessary, as he was already rather large, and knocked with a paw that had unkindness etched into its knuckles. Little pig, he crooned, smoothing his voice the way a cat smooths its whiskers, let me come in. The first pig, who had been painting cheerful dots on a teacup, froze as the paintbrush left a shy comet tail. His heart did a somersault, then another. But fear does not always mean foolishness. He answered, not by the hair on my chinny chin, which is a silly thing to say. And exactly right, because silliness can be a shield when your voice wants to run away without you. The wolf smiled without warmth. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. He took a breath like the sky in a storm and blew, whoosh, and the straw lifted into the air like a field turning into birds. The little round door pirouetted once and disappeared into the grass. A teacup rolled away, still wearing its wet polka dots. The first pig, with a squeal as sharp as a squeaky hinge, darted out and ran until he reached his brother's stick house. The second pig flung the door open, tugged him inside, and dropped the bar with shaking hooves. He blew it down, the first pig panted, clutching his chest. With only one breath. The second pig swallowed, then set his jaw. Sticks are stronger than straw. You'll see. The wolf, who lived by the noisy belief that victory grows from being the loudest creature in the clearing, swaggered up to the stick house and knocked. Little pigs, let me come in. Not by the hair on our chins, they cried together, because courage often grows louder when it has company. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. The wolf gathered the day into his lungs and blasted. The stick walls trembled, holding like friends with linked arms. The wolf frowned, dug in his paws, and blew again, longer, harder. The lattice shook, groaned, bent, and then, with a cracking sigh, gave way. The roof did not collapse all at once but folded itself like a reluctant deck of cards. The pigs did not wait to analyze, they ran. Fear, like thunder, teaches quick lessons. They ran across the grass to the brick house with the bell that made the honest sound, and they rang it as if honesty could hurry. The third pig opened the door at once and folded both brothers into a hug that made a small fortress of three. Wolf, the first pig gasped. Huffing, the second added. Puffing, the first finished. House is gone. The third pig nodded, set them inside, and closed the door with a quietness that felt like confidence. He placed a kettle on the stove and, because kindness is a quick thinker, set out 3 mugs. The wolf arrived with a grin that had chewed too many good things and learned too few good lessons. He pounded the brick with his fist. Little pigs, let me come in. The third pig answered, voice smooth, not mocking. No, not by the hair on our chins. Then I'll huff, and I'll puff, and I'll blow your house in. The wolf backed up, filled himself with wind, and released it in a roar that bent the grass flat and made the birds pause their songs. The brick house did not move. The wolf, surprised, widened his stance and pulled more air into his staggering lungs until his sides quivered, then pushed it out in a howl that tried to peel the paint from the shutters. The brick house sighed, perhaps, but only with patience. The wolf coughed, staggered a little, then glared at the calm, red wall that refused to tremble. Inside, the pigs stood shoulder to shoulder. The first pig's knees were playing castanets. The second pig's tail had turned into a punctuation mark. The third pig kept his voice steady, we are safe. We are together. Then I'll batter the door, the wolf snarled. He ran a few paces, turned, and threw himself at the door with all his weight. But the door was oak, the frame was true, and 3 sets of backs braced behind it with the kind of strength that comes not from muscle but from the word we. The wolf slammed, bounced, blinked, and found himself sprawled in the grass. When impatience cannot go through a wall, it looks for a way over it, and the wolf tilted his snout toward the chimney. Aha, he muttered. He crept to the side of the house and began to climb. Inside, the third pig lit a warm fire in the fireplace. Sparks danced and grew into a proper flame. They heard the scrape of claws on brick, the huff of a creature climbing. The wolf slid, then yelped. He shot back up like a cork from a bottle, sailed beyond the roofline, landed in a bush, scrambled upright, and fled into the trees, tail singed. Inside the brick house, nobody cheered loudly. They simply breathed, which felt like a celebration in itself. They sat at the table and poured tea into the 3 mugs, and the third pig, who had built slowly and thought often, addressed the room with a smile that wrapped everyone like a blanket. I am glad my house stood, he said. But my house alone did not keep us safe. It was our backs at the door. It was our hands that found each other. It was our promise under the banyan tree. The first pig lowered his eyes, not from shame but from a new understanding. I wanted to be fastest, he said. And I was. But fast blew away like leaves. The second pig nodded. I wanted the easy path, and I took it. But ease can be a thin blanket in a cold wind. And I, said the third pig, wanted to be safe. But safety grows larger when it is shared. Brother, if your speed had not brought you to my door quickly, and brother, if your clever hands had not lifted the bar in time, my plans would be less than they became. You made my house stronger by being inside it. From that day on, the 3 pigs decided to live together in the brick house. They rebuilt the straw house as a cheerful garden shed, and the stick house as a playhouse for rainy day theater. They planted sunflowers taller than worries. Mother Pig visited often, bringing jam and pride in equal measure. And sometimes, when the light was peach-colored and the kettle began to whisper, the bell by their door would ring, and friends would gather, field mice, a hedgehog with jokes, a goose who claimed she once outswam a thundercloud. So my sweetest listeners, if you remember nothing else, remember this: a quick fix is not always a safe fix. A clever shortcut is not always a wise path, and the strongest walls are the ones you build shoulder to shoulder with those you love. If that warmed your heart and set your imagination humming, tap that subscribe button so I can read to you again next time. Until then, be brave, be kind, and always stand together when the wind begins to blow.